How you doing, YouTube? Matt Massa Beer Reviews. Back with yet another review. A little bit of Stouty McStout time in the form of Mortalis Brewing. It is their As Above, So Below. I think this is a coffee-based stout. I know it's a coffee-based stout. When I was coming back from my trip to Buffalo, on the way back, I had a couple breweries I wanted to hit. Mortalis is one of them. Look at that. You know, we're repping proper tonight, but stopped by there, ended up hanging out with one of the owners, brewers, Paul, and kind of hung out, chugged a couple beers, left there with a couple beers, and this is one of them. It's their As Above, So Below, and I'm pretty sure this is just like a coffee stout. I know it's a coffee stout, but I think there's other bits and pieces going on, but I forget what's going on, but we're going to review it anyway, and we're going to talk about it. There you go. So let's crack into this sucker. See what's what. As Above, So Below. It's actually, it reminds me of a video game. One of my favorite video games of all time is Uncharted. And there is a level in Uncharted 3 called As Above, So Below. And it kind of tickles me pink that there is a beer named the same thing. Now, Mortalis gets a lot of their vibes and beer names from kind of mythology and writings and stuff from to and from back in the day and hereforth and all kinds of words and stuff, but that's what it reminds me of. It's one of my favorite levels in video games, actually. You go in this temple and there's all kinds of weird shit you gotta do. It's Uncharted. Anyway, label-wise, it's probably my favorite label that Mortalis has done. They've done a lot of the kind of like constellation-based stuff, but this is one of the more graphic labels they've done, and just something about it just tickles me pink, so I dig that. And as far as this one sits in this fucking OG Novari Rest glass, which I have not broken out in quite a while. I mean, that is stout. That is stout through and through. As far as ABV goes, what does it say on here? Anything specific? 10%, so she's a sipper. And that be that. I mean, there's coffee just wafting out of this son of a bitch, so let's get a nose. I mean, it is like, it's not even like straight like coffee in your face. It's like it's not coffee ice cream. It's like coffee wafer. Like if you were to get like those old school wafers. So like my mom was off the boat from England, and one of the like treats and cakes and candies we had floating around when I was a kid was these English style wafers. You know, kind of think, I don't know, what's inside of a Twix without all the chocolate and stuff like that. That kind of thing. Some people don't know what they are, but you know, it's just a ghetto wafer. Think about that, but like coffee drizzled wafer. That's kind of what I'm getting here. So there's soft milk chocolate, there's a little bit of lactose, there's definitely a huge coffee component, but it's not just all coffee. It's not like a coffee stout done and done. It's got this rich kind of confectionery, bready wafer portion of the show that kind of separates it from what you typically expect from like a just a generic kind of coffee stout. So you get that kind of bready, wafery kind of pastry, not in the sense that people talk about beer nowadays when it comes to like just adjunct laden beers, but an actual like pastry, crusty waferiness to it on top of that coffee that doesn't come off all that bitter, and it doesn't smell like cold pressed, but it has a nice richness to it without that overt bittering, but the beer's still there. That's the most important part. So coffee, chocolate, vanilla, like a nut bready richness to it. So it smells hearty, smells coffee, smells stouty, because that's a word. Let's just dive in. Cheers. I mean, it's weird because it's like if a Russian Imperial Stout had a baby with a oatmeal stout in maple syrup. That's kind of what I'm getting right here. Because you get this rich kind of sweetness from it that's somewhere beyond the malt base. That's, I believe, like a maple syrup thing going on. There's a coffee portion of the show that's so vibrant, but non-bittering. Really welcoming. It's like an espresso. My wife loves this little Nespresso machine we have in our house. You just basically put in one of those kind of pods in there, but it comes out like more of a espresso as opposed to like a Keurig kind of coffee thing. That's what it comes off here. So it has a hazelnut Nespresso thing on top of that kind of... It's almost like Nutella, too. There's so many different levels to it, and it's one of the more, same time nuanced while impactful kind of bigger stouts, if you will, that I've had in quite a while. Mouthfeel's fantastic. Rich, decadent mouthfeel that kind of stops short of being like a pastry beer, because this isn't pastry. Sure, there's an added sweetness to it. Sure, there's a richness to it. Sure, there's something desserty about it, but it doesn't come off as like what you'd expect from, your new school kind of pigeonholed kind of pastry stout, to where there's all these adjuncts thrown at it. It's more like a partly sunny, partly cloudy kind of thing, to where it's like pastry stout with pastry vibes. It's kind of one of those things, and that's kind of where this lies. So rich, decadent taste, mouthfeel, the whole nine. Coffee comes at a forefront, not overly bittering. It has this nice richness to it that kind of goes throughout the whole beer. It's really fucking good. Like I said, it kind of reminds me of a Russian beer. Imperial stout had a baby with like an oatmeal stout, had a baby with like a milk stout with just a dollop of maple syrup that just kind of brings it home and ties it all together. This is probably one of the better non-barrel aged adjunct stouts I've had as of late. Let's just cut the chase and go there. I mean, you get the vibes I'm throwing down. Coffee, lactose, like some kind of cream element to it, maple syrup, I believe, and a nice rich malt, roasty, toasty malt base. This is one of the better non-barrel aged adjunct stouts that I've had as of late. Yes. Value availability? Don't know. It's Mortalis. I mean, I was lucky enough to get some cans when I was up there, but I assume it's going to be market value, because that's how breweries roll nowadays, and leave you with, if you like what will you like this beer, if you like big, huge, impactful flavor-wise kind of adjunct-laden stouts, but that aren't cloying. Not just in a sweet sense, but in like just an overall impactful sense. Sometimes, I shouldn't say sometimes, more often than not, a lot of breweries get so heavy-handed with all these adjuncts that they end up coming off just like so just drenched in whatever adjunct they want to throw at it. Not that this one isn't impactful, but it's measured enough to where those impactful moments make sense for the beer. So if you like impact without an over-the-topness, and you like just tasty coffee beers, there you go. So there you go. Another review in the books. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Down there if you want to talk about it. Massive Beers if you want to check me out doing the social media stuff. Beer Massive. You want to check me out doing the whole podcasting thing. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Hopefully enjoying a nice little Mortalis jam right now. And hopefully see you next time. Cheers.